Hello and welcome dear students to a series of grammar in use. In this video we are going to explore the conditional sentences. You are requested to get a pen and notepad ready so that you can take down the pointers and construct sentences along with us. Let us dive into it. Let us first understand what are conditional sentences. Conditional sentences contain or comprises of two parts of a sentence in which one is an independent clause and one is a dependent clause. It is the dependent clause which begins with if or when that is known as a conditional sentence, and the remaining part of the sentence, that is the independent clause, it is based on the condition that it is setting. Conditional sentences are used to describe real or hypothetical results of real or hypothetical situations. Now we are going to explore quite a few situations where the first part of the sentence, whether it is likely or unlikely, and what impact will it have in the on the second part of the sentence, whether likely or unlikely. So for that reason we can see real or hypothetical. Hypothetical means assumed situations. There are many different forms. They can use many different forms of verbs. So make a note of the verbs those are being used. Though that will be one of the pointer. The first pointer that we have is the zero conditional. Zero conditional means the sentence with the if and when and it has got the conditional, that is, if you set that condition, the result is likely. And it is definitely a possibility, a reality. That is how it is called a zero conditional. The zero conditional can also be called as the real conditional. That refers to the things that are always true. Always true in the sense, for example, in science, if you were to heat and boil, in order to boil water, definitely if you switch on the heat, the water will begin to boil. So it is a real situation. It is used to describe the direct result of an action. Let us see the example that we have before us. If you heat water, it boils. When you heat water, it boils. Now let us analyze the sentence. If you heat, if is the conditional word, and if you heat water is the conditional clause. And after the conditional clause, there is a comma, and then comes the independent clause. It boils. When you heat water, when is the conditional word? You heat water. When you heat water is a conditional clause, and after the conditional clause, a comma is added, and then is the independent clause. Now, both if and when, though it is used interchangeably, if and when means the same thing in zero conditional, but if is said with the possibility, when is said with surety. When you heat water, it boils. Let us proceed and see the examples with the same that is zero conditional. If you heat ice, it melts. It is definitely a scientific rule, so we say it is real. If you drop an apple, it falls. Yes, it is also scientifically proven that if you drop an ice, it will if you drop an apple, it will fall. It falls. Now over here you can see this is the conditional clause and this is the independent clause. When you put a rock in water, this is the conditional clause, comma, it sinks, this is the independent clause. Oil floats when you put it onto water. Now you might be wondering, where is the comma? If I were to reconstruct this, when you pour oil onto water, comma, it floats. Over here what I have done is oil floats, I brought it in the beginning part of the sentence. So oil floats when you pour it into water, so then in that case the comma is removed, because the clause is when you pour it into water, that is the conditional clause. The result clause can go to the beginning of the sentence, the comma is removed in this case. I hope this is understood. At this point, requesting you to pause the video and construct a few sentences. Now you may analyze your sentence looking at the structure. In the structure, we have if or when. These are the conditional words. Then you have the action in simple present. You heat water, that is present simple, describes the action. Then you have the comma, the punctuation. Comma gets at the end of the if or when clause, and it boils result of the action. Result is described using the simple present. So both have simple present, and if you heat water, it boils. When you heat water, it boils. Now, at this moment, you may self evaluate your sentences whether you have constructed it correctly or incorrectly. Let us proceed to the next imperatives. Let us first understand conditional with imperatives for first imperatives to be understood. Imperatives are statements or sentences that give some kind of order, command, etc. For example, put on your coat. Put on your coat is an imperative sentence. Now, when conditionals are clubbed up with imperatives, how is it constructed? Let us see that. Imperatives can be used in conditional sentences. So we have seen one such imperative and it is clubbed up with the conditional clause. The if clause describes a hypothetical situation. That means you are describing some kind of situation, and the imperative clause describes what someone should do if that condition happens. Let us look at the sentence that we have before us. The situation that the condition is setting, the conditional that is setting is if you are cold. That means when you begin feeling cold, if you are cold, put on your coat. That is the suggested action. So this is the imperative part and this is the conditional part. Now you can see that if is the conditional word, you are cold. If you are cold is a conditional clause, and then we have a comma, and then is the imperative sentence. When it is put together, the entire is known as a complex sentence with a conditional clause. Let us see certain examples with this kind of construction. If you feel sick, call a doctor. Call a doctor is imperative. If you feel sick is the conditional clause, suggesting that if you feel sick, then you should call a doctor. So it is giving an instruction based on the condition. If the traffic is bad, cycle to work. Cycle to work is the imperative and it is set on the condition if the traffic is bad. So the person is advised if the traffic is bad, he should cycle to work. Now, this is a negative construction. Don't stay up late if you are tired. Over here, don't stay up late is the negative imperative and the condition is set on if you are tired. So if you are tired, do not stay up late. That is applied based on the condition. The next sentence that we have is if the dog's hungry. This is a contraction if the dog is hungry. If the dog is hungry, feed him. Now, feed him is imperative and is based on the condition if the dog is hungry. Next we have is if the children behave badly, call me. Call me is the imperative sentence over here and the conditional is if the children behave badly. So if the children behave badly, the person is supposed to call the person, me. Let me know if you need help. Let me know is the imperative and if you need help. Now you can see over here, if you need help is the conditional clause, comma, let me know could have been at the end, but that is brought in front, let me know. That is why the comma is dropped. So let me know if you need help. At this point, you are requested to construct sentences as per the given samples on the screen. Now let us analyze the structure. The if conditional word, if shows that the condition sentence is conditional, that the sentence is conditional. Present simple, you are cold, then is a comma because this entire clause is a conditional clause. Put on a coat is imperative, full stop. The imperative gives the suggested action, comma is to separate the if clause, and this the if clause is in simple present tense. So the sentence is, if you are cold, put on a coat. After analyzing the structure, you may correct your sentences that you have already constructed. Let us proceed. The next pointer that we have is the first conditional. We have certain conditionals: first conditional, second conditional, and third conditional. So we are analyzing the first conditional. The first conditional is also known as the future real. Why is it called the future real? Because the condition which is setting is you are able to take some action over there in order to ensure that the outcome is real. So future is possible, or that is why it is called future real. The future real conditional uses if to describe a realistic situation or action that might lead to a future result. Let us see the example. If I have enough money. Now, it is a likely situation that you can save some money. If I save enough money, you it is likely that if you put something aside and then you can change the future. What is the future? I'll go on a cruise. So that means the result is a possibility based on your current action. So that is why it is known as future real. That means you can alter or make the future real. Let us see certain constructions based on this. How to form the first conditional is usually introduced by an if clause followed by the simple present. The future with will expresses the result. So if I save enough money, if is the conditional word, if shows that the sentence is conditional. Present simple is used, I save enough money, that is okay, showing what is the condition set. Present simple sets that describes the suggested action. If the suggested action is followed, then there is likely to be an outcome. Now let us see the structure. If I save enough money is a conditional clause. That is why we add a comma to get the conditional clause separate. And then we have the independent clause. I will or I'll go on a cruise. This is the likely condition that is to be fulfilled if you take action in the present. And this will have the word will describe the result. Future with will describes the result. Now let us see certain examples based on it. If I go jogging, I will lose weight, because in present if you can go on jogging you can definitely lose weight, so it is like a likely condition. If it snows, I'll go skiing, because it's a likely condition. If it snows, it is likely that you can go skiing in the future. If we go to Africa, we'll go on a safari. This is also a likely condition, and the outcome future is a possibility. If I get the job, I'll buy a new suit. So this is also a possibility. If a person gets the job, the outcome can be changed. That means a suit can be bought. If I cook, it's a likely condition. Will you do the dishes? This is the outcome or the future that is likely to be changed based on the current action. I won't go outside. If it rains, I won't go outside is the future that is changeable. If it rains is the condition. Over here the structure is interchanged. Now requesting you to pause the video at this point and construct sentences. Now let us look at the second conditional. The second conditional is also called an unreal conditional. Uses if to describe an unlikely or unreal action or event. The described result is also very unlikely. For example, if I won the lottery, I would leave my job. It is unlikely that a person might win the lottery, and it is unlikely that the outcome would be a possibility that he would leave his job. So, unlikely event with an unlikely result. Now, let us see certain constructions, or let us see the constructions with it. The second conditional is usually introduced by an if clause with past simple. Okay, unlikely condition is with the past simple. So conditional word, and then you have the simple past, and then that is the action that is conditioned along with it. So if I won the lottery is the conditional clause with the separated by a comma, and then the independent sentence, it can have could or would, I would leave my job. Now let us go back and see. The second conditional is usually introduced by if clause with the past simple, and would or could plus the base form of the verb expresses the result. So you need to have could or would. This is quite an important point for editing. Kindly make a note of it. Either could or would, both are possibilities. The result is described using would plus the verb over here. Let us proceed and see certain examples based on the same structure. If he wasn't so busy, he would take a break. If I moved to Scotland, I would live in a cottage. If I had more time, I could take up karate. In these three conditions, you can see that these are the unlikely conditions, and that's how the result is also unlikely. I had, if I had, I would call her if I knew her number. This is an unlikely condition, so that's why no call. If I saw a ghost, I would be terrified. If is the condition set, unlikely condition, and the unlikely result. If I learned English, I could visit London, unlikely condition and unlikely outcome. The third condition is that the third conditional, also called the past unreal. Past unreal means you cannot go into the past and change anything, and that's how the present cannot be changed. It is used to describe unreal situations in the past. It is often used to express regret about the past because the hypothetical situation that it describes is now impossible as a consequence of another past action. That means you cannot go into the past and change the action. That is the reason that you cannot change the result of that action. If we had left earlier, we would have caught the train. This is the condition. If we had left earlier, now you cannot go back in the past and change your past because you already left late. This did not happen. So the result is unlikely. You cannot change the result. We would have caught the train. So this did not happen earlier. For example, if I had worked hard, I would have passed the examination. Because in the past you did not work hard, so the current situation you couldn't have passed the examination. Further examples to see this structure: if I had woken up on time, I would have done my hair. If I had studied harder, I could have been a doctor. Because the person has not studied harder, so the person is not a doctor. The person had not woken up on time, so the person could not do the hair. Could means this possibility would have happened. If you had been wearing a coat, you might have stayed warm. Now, because the person was not wearing a coat, so the person could not stay warm. Might be a possibility, would have happened. If I had known it was your birthday, I would have bought you a present. Because the person did not know it was his birthday, that's the reason the present was not bought. Now let us see the structure, analyze the structure. The if for conditional word is there, had plus past participle. Had and past participle is left with a conditional uh, action that is clubbed with it. So the clause, conditional clause would be if we had left earlier. So if clause is the unreal past condition, comma is to separate the conditional clause. Would or could might be used over here. We would. Using different modals changes the certainty of the imagined result. Have and past participle. With have you use the past participle. So let us read the independent clause. We would have got the train. Now let us read the complete sentence. If we had left earlier, we would have got the train. This is the conditional clause with the unreal result, because you cannot change the past, so you cannot change the result of the condition. Then we have the mixed conditionals, where you have the second and the third conditions combined to form the mixed condition. How is that possible? The second conditional is used to talk about a hypothetical situation in the present. If I didn't believe in astrology, this is present, I wouldn't have read my horoscope. That means the would infinitive is there. That means in present condition, if you could have not read it, you wouldn't believe it. The third conditional is used to talk about the hypothetical situations in the past, the unlikely situation. If I had known he was an Aquarius, I would not have gone out with him. So that means that cannot be changed. That's unlikely condition. Would plus have plus past participle. Now let us combine both and see what new situation is formed. Mixed conditionals are usually used to talk about hypothetical present results of unreal past situations. Now, unreal past situations are producing certain results which are either likely or unlikely. If you had been born a month earlier, that is unreal past, that means you cannot change that. You would be a Virgo like me, unreal present. So when you cannot change the past, you cannot change the present as well. Let us see certain sentence constructions based on it. If you hadn't forgotten to bring the keys, you wouldn't be locked out of the house. You would be starting at a new school tomorrow if you hadn't failed your examinations or exams. Unlikely past, unlikely present. If I had finished my assignment sooner, I could be out with my friends today. Because the person did not finish the assignment sooner, so the person could not be out with the friends. So it is said as a regret. Mixed conditionals are often used to express regret. We would be on a beach in Greece by now if we hadn't missed our flight. Unlikely conditions of the past, so cannot change the future. There are quite a number of more constructions based on conditionals. You may practice these structures as of now, and in the next video we will be sharing more such structures of conditionals. If you like the video, kindly click on like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much for your kind attention.